Hello and welcome to the Florida Men Gaming. I am Furion and today we will be playing Magic the Gathering Arena. This season we are looking to make our way from Bronze to Mythic and have some fun along the way. Before we get started, I would like to ask you to like and subscribe to this video. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers and would love to have you join us for the journey. Today's deck is going to be a green and black elf tribal deck, which is just a non-stop synergy bomb that we're hoping to exploit and just run opponents off the board. We are playing 12 1-drops today, 4 Duskwielders, which is a 1/1 for 1 black. This particular card has a boast ability where, for paying 1 mana on the attack, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. 4 copies of Jaspera Sentinel, as this deck does on occasion have a hard time getting the mana color combination out correctly. So this will serve as a mana fixer, as you can tap this creature and an untapped creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. It also has reach, which will help us with any particular flying adversaries. 4 copies of the Tajuru Blightblade, which is a 1/1 for 1 green with Death Touch, keeps opponents from swinging in with larger creatures for fear of losing them if they are playing a more conservative strategy. First synergy that we're going to be looking to exploit is the Elvish Warmaster. We're playing 4 copies. Whenever 1 or more elves enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. And 4, 5, and 2 Gs, elves you control get +2/+2 and gain Death Touch until the end of the turn. This is a fantastic way to run through the final bit of damage you need and keep them on their heels. We're also going to be running 4 copies of Harald, King of the Skemfar. He is a legendary creature elf warrior, 3/2 for 1 black green. He has Menace, and when Harald, King of the Skemfar, enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an elf, warrior, or Tyvar card from among them and put it into your library. Put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This card will help us dig out some of our bombs, like the Warmaster or the Canopy Tactician. Canopy Tactician is a 3 and a green, 3/3, which other elves you control get +1/+1, and can tap to add 3 green mana. This particular card will help us just make the board ever bigger and ever more intimidating. Elderleaf Mentor is a way to flood the field. We are going to be playing 2 copies of that, 3 and a green. When Elderleaf Mentor enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token, 3/2 creature here. We'll be playing 4 Skemfar Shadowsage. This particular creature is one of our sneaky bombs. When Skemfar Shadowsage enters the battlefield, choose 1. Each opponent loses X life, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. Seeing as our entire deck today is filled with elves, this is something that can hit huge. Or, on the other side of the option, you can gain X life, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. Here's a fun fact about the Skemfar Shadowsage. When it enters the battlefield, it will trigger the Elvish Warmaster, who will add an additional warrior token before his ability triggers, adding 1 more pip of damage depending on how many of these you have on the board. If you have 3 or 4 Warmasters on the field, it will add 4 additional pips of damage or health back that the Shadowsage can play off of. 1 copy of Tyvar Kell to add some variety, to continue to add warriors to the board. And with the -6 ability, you get an emblem with whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until the end of the turn and you draw 2 cards, which will help us if we get into a pinch. We will also be running 4 copies of Herald Unites the Elves. It is an enchantment saga. For the first, you mill 3 cards. You may put an elf or Tyvar card from your graveyard into the battlefield. This is an excellent ability, as it does not require the card that you decide to put onto the battlefield be from the ones that you milled. So if you lose a key piece early in the fight, this card can hit the field and bring back something that was lost earlier, like an Elvish Warmaster. Phase 2 puts a 1/1 counter on each elf you control, and Phase 3, whenever an elf you control attacks, this turn, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until the end of the turn. So, when you've got your board nice and full, this can swing in and wipe out defenders before they have a chance to line up for blocks, or bring them just below range to be effective. This is an excellent card and just adds to the additional synergy. Final playable card in the deck, Return Upon the Tide. 4 and a black with a foretell cost of 3 and a black. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If it's an elf, create 2 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. Playing this in lieu of Haunted Voyage, as this particular card does add the 2 extra elf warriors to the battlefield, again just building upon our elf synergies. This is the deck we're going to be using today to have a little bit of fun. I hope you enjoy the journey, and we will see you in the first match. Alright, we have found our opponent. Fighting against Satan's Knife. Alright, this first hand has all the pieces that we want in a hand, so we are going to go ahead and keep. We're going to lead off with the Jaspera Sentinel, as the Duskwielder is an enticing option, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have the mana fixing down early. Play 2 will indeed be the Elvish Warmaster, so that on turn 3 we can set up the Duskwielder to come in and get our first pip. That hold could indicate a Fading Hope. We shall see what the opponent decides to do here. There's the Fading Hope. And just because we can, swing in for 1. Blue-white. I have a feeling we are playing against an Esper deck based on the skull sleeves. Otherwise, this person just has a goth-themed fetish. Duskwielder coming down. Hopefully they don't Fading Hope the Warmaster a second time. Jawari Disruption. We are going to go ahead and auto-pay just so we can continue to build the field. And burn their counterspell. We are now 4 wide with the Skemfar Shadowsage coming up on deck. We're going to go ahead and swing that one hard and fast, depending on what their play is here. Going to be wary of potential board wipes, though. They could have Divine Purge, Doomscar, any one of those, and that would severely slow down our strategy. Alright, Shadowsage coming to the board. It sticks. We're going to go ahead and deduct life. And again, here's what we talked about in the deck tech. Elvish Pip on the board brings us to 6 elves down and swinging in for an additional 1, 3, 4, 5 damage. Opponent considering their options. Beauty of this deck, we're up to turn 4, opponent's down to 8, and they need a bomb. There's the bomb. Alright folks, does not take the Shadowsage off the board. And we're going to go ahead and drop the Canopy Tactician. Shadowsage in for 3. With the additional 3 mana pips on this next turn from the Canopy Tactician, we will be able to drop additional pips onto the board, additional elf creatures that will help us build into the finale. Alright, game 1 in the books, secured a victory. Excited for that, moving from silver 3 to silver 2. And we will see you in the next one. Alright, and we're back. This is a definitely enticing hand. Looks like this will be a keep. With Jaspera Sentinel ramp, we will be able to go right through turn 3 into a turn 4 curve, which is exactly what we would hope for. Jaspera Sentinel down, opponent plays a snow-covered mountain, we could be facing dragons. Double red. Do we get the whelp? Opponent holds up on turn 2. Gonna go ahead and drop the Warmaster. That stick indicates they are probably sitting on an instant. Is it Dragon's Fire? It is Dragon's Fire! Alright, so that is the first big tip that we are facing a Dragon's deck. With the 4th mana drawn in, we will be able to play through the curve without that extra ramp. Let's see if they give us the option. Herald, King of the Skemfar, going to diversify our hand options here. Harald Unites the Elves is an excellent pickup because that will allow us to regain that Warmaster and a Tajuru Blightblade just to continue to round off the elf play coming through the next turn. And the Fumarole, this might just be a burn deck. Interesting that they're choosing not to spend that 3 snow mana. Don't know if it's a choice I would make, but I'm not them. I'm going to go ahead and pull the Warmaster back out of the pile. And next turn, we will be able to double spell, pulling out the Blightblade and the Tyvar Kell. Going to draw out potentially some more spell work here. There's another spell. Doesn't seem that they have anything to follow these spells up with, which for the moment is to our benefit. Passing all the way through again. This just seems to be removal tribal. Going to go ahead and drop the Blightblade and the Tyvar Kell. And we will plus. See what we can do to put the Kell out of reach. 5th mana found. Does that bring out a gold spend? Chandra, dress to kill. Alright.
This little candle's gonna set your world on fire.
There's the fearsome whelp. We've been expecting it. That is a big pickup here.
Come on, we can do this.
We're going to go ahead and knock out the Chandra, and with the ability, kill the fearsome whelp. That is why I love Herald Unites the Elves. Opponent is now empty. Tyvar up to 5. This is about to get nasty. 2 more pluses. We'll hold Tyvar on the board if they let us. Alright, the opponent is deciding how they want to make their next move. So far they seem to be stalling out. Inferno of the Star Mounts, where do they swing? I suspect they'll go for the Tyvar Kell. There it is. Alright, so now it's a race, folks. Oh, and the perfect pickup. This is just a nice little stalling piece. Keep them from tapping all the way down. We might be able to win a race to the finish here. Alright, how are they electing to play this? They have finally decided that they'd like to swing. We're going to go ahead and set up the block lest they pump to 11. What do they got? Looks like they may have a buff spell. No! How are they going to follow this up? 5 open mana. Sorry, 6 open mana. Reading and math is fundamental, kids. Stay in school. Alright, another Tajuru Blightblade coming down. We're going to go ahead and swing in with everything we've got on this turn. Put them within range of lethal and hope for the best. Still sitting on 6 mana, this stick indicates they may have some kind of burn spell sitting in the offing. Let's see what they decide to do here. Alright, finally hits the board. What do they attack next? I can't imagine they have any creatures with flash, but they've shown plenty of instants and a willingness to use them. It could be that the stick is just from the innate ability of the Star Mount to increase its attack damage. If that's the case, it's a shame they haven't been paying attention, but we have lethal on the next turn unless they land a blocker, and then we'll have to hold back Inferno of the Star Mounts in order to prevent that. Next turn, if they don't have removal, we will be attacking in with just the Bright Blades so that they are forced to block at least one thing, depending on what comes down next. They're looking at removal. Probably going to remove the Tactician and take 1/1 counters off of the Bright Blades. But so far, we haven't seen them make any decisions, so we'll continue to wait while they mull over their options. They've skipped the attack phase. Oh, and the bomb! We're going to go ahead and take that, bring the Warmaster back to the board, and hopefully it hits ahead of the tokens. And it does, dropping yet another token to the board. We're going to go ahead and go all in, commit to this, and see what happens. All right, they are making decisions. That's a good decision. They're going to let 2 through, I believe, let the Canopy Tactician run across the wall of the Star Mounts and debuff the entire field. Still in a lot of trouble, though. That 2 damage goes through, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 damage on the board available, plus the Elvish Warmaster pump, giving Death Touch to the entire field. They will have to deal with that Warmaster if they want to have any chance of pulling this off. It looks like they may have the option to deal with it. There it is. That right there puts them right back into this. They can even take a swing if they want. Be a dangerous choice at this point, but I've seen people do crazier. We're going to go ahead and crash against the wall and hope that we have another bomb coming up in our deck. We've had a lot of our important cards hit the graveyard already. We have to hope that we draw something else on the next turn. 2 damage is going to make it through. 1 more Canopy Tactician would be optimal. And what did they draw into? Still sitting on 6 mana. 2 health for the opponent. So far, they have managed to play this expertly. They are taking their time, as they have over multiple turns. They are really contemplating their options, making sure they don't make any mistakes as they try to figure out their best approach to victory. At the very least, I have 2 turns if they choose to pump all the way up and take a swing. I don't have at the current moment any ability to block this incoming Star Mount if it decides to go for victory. In future iterations of this deck, I should consider sweepers. Hopefully they're still there. It's possible they've disconnected. I somehow doubt it, though. Alright, there's a decision. They've finally put something on the board. Fearsome Whelp comes down, which is not good for our future prospects here. Any additional dragons they have are now going to continue to get cheaper and cheaper. Elderleaf Mentor is a great pickup. It is another 2 elf creatures to the board, which means we can now attempt to swing through and at least take the Fearsome Whelp out of the picture. I don't want to let them get that board any wider if we can avoid it. And with the amount of removal they've had, I don't believe that swinging or leaving cards on the table is an optimal choice here. No matter what, they're going to have to block at least 1. This is going to take the Whelp off the board, which is what we wanted. Don't want them to get dragons any cheaper than they've already had them. Alright, they draw a land. Do they have removal sitting in hand? We shall find out. Looks like they've got it. They're looking at the Elderleaf Mentor with hunger. Oh, and they clear the field. Incoming! Inferno the Star Mount's bound to be coming down. Swinging in for 7 damage. They're looking to make this a 2 to 3 turn clock here. There's the Sentinel. Keeps us alive one more turn. We're going to go ahead, and if they don't take the Sentinel off the board, not block the next attack. That will be an attack for lethal if they choose to pump all the way up. Orb of Dragonkind, they bypass lethal. What do they have for us? The Tundra Fumarole. They have once again secured removal. They have had it at every turn, folks. We had them on the ropes for a minute, but they have somehow found a way to secure themselves all the way to victory. At this point, I don't see any way that we make it through this. Moonveil Regent hits the board. Inferno swings in for 6. This gives us a ping, but not enough. We're going to give them the well-deserved GG. That was one heck of a match. Really, really appreciate them sticking it all the way to the end. Didn't go the way we wanted, but it was definitely fun.
Go ahead, fight me as hard as you can, because I'm real stubborn.
There's the 1 damage in. Do they swing in with both?
Heat up the dance
They
floor.
do. Folks, they definitely earned this one. That is a hard loss to swallow, but at the end of the day, when you're designed to go low and fast and they're designed to go big, once they hit the big, you're in trouble. Alright, we have found our next opponent. Looking to make our way out of Silver 2 with an Elf Tribal deck. This is another slow hand that they've started us with. Opponent does go first. We're going to go ahead and mulligan, see if we can pull ourselves a 1-drop, which we have failed to secure. Alright, with this hand, we're going to go ahead and bury the Elderleaf Mentor and hope to draw something that gets us into contention here. Opponent taking their time to make a which mana and 1-drop do I play decision. It is possible that their game is still loading in. The opponents already broke out the rope. Oh, and they've found their mana. And a duress. There goes my Tyvar Kell or my Return Upon the Tide. We shall see. This could be a rather annoying hand. If they are playing discard tribal or mill, this will not be a fun match. It is blue-black based on the Murkwater pathway. It's not a hard decision. There's only 2 options. You can click either one and they both hurt. They've elected to take the Tyvar Kell. I do have the 3rd mana though, so that means that at least by turn 3 we will be rolling. Hopefully we pick up a 2-drop on the way. There's a Jaspera Sentinel. That gets us into contention. We are now putting creatures on the board. Harald, King of the Skemfar, will be next unless we get a more enticing 2-drop or 3-drop to come in on the next draw. Probably sitting on removal based on the stick. Siphon Insight, they're just looking to play our hand. We will see what they drew at some point here. Thankfully there is no instant removal. Duskwielder. That is a good pickup for them. Alright, Harald, King of the Skemfar, coming down to the field. Elderleaf Mentor on the pickup, so burying one didn't seem to have any major effect. That is unfortunate. We're going to be losing a couple of amazing cards here to the bottom of the library with no elves in the top 5. There goes the Infernal Grasp. They don't want us to have any attack options or any ramp options. Opponent thinking better of it. We're going to go ahead and foretell the return upon the tide, as we are now mana starved. Have another Skemfar Shadowsage sitting in hand. That will be a useful card if we can ever put anything onto the board. Opponent, in the meantime, is just electing to take damage and remove our critters. Incoming Duskwielder. There we go. Herald, King of the Skemfar. There's got to be an elf in the next couple of cards. Hopefully something that we can play. Divide by 0. All right, we are now back to where we started. Nowhere. Opponent is contemplating something. All right. Manual tap. They found one. Looks like they don't want to miss a mana drop. Meanwhile, I have missed several. Gonna play the Elderleaf Mentor pending any kind of counterspell. Get 2 elves down on the board, make them burn even more removal if they've got it, and build up the field for the Skemfar Shadowsage. There's another Infernal Grasp, the opponent just continuing to level my field. We'll let them get in with that Duskwielder. We are not going to bother blocking this turn. If they want this card, they're going to have to earn it. We're going to go ahead and attempt to return upon the tide, the Harald, King of the Skemfar. Probably not the right card. There's the Test of Talents. That really burns. We're going to lose the other copy of Return Upon the Tide in the deck, which does hurt. And they have now once again received access to our entire hand. We're going to go ahead and hold back the elf. And they're going to take another Siphon Insight off the top. Let's see what they get. On the bright side, we are now at the peak of our mana usage, so we will not need anything beyond 4 mana for the rest of the game. Would be nice to be able to multi-spell, but at the end of the day, we'll take whatever we can get at this point. They are looking at that token. Gonna go ahead and play Harald, King of the Skemfar for the second time. What do they have? They drew the Divide by 0! On the bright side, Harald, King of the Skemfar, back into play. We're going to go ahead and take a Tajuru Blightblade. That will be a good pickup, as we'll be able to then stare down their larger 7 damage, 4 damage, bigger cards here. Oh, now the turntables. We're going to go ahead and Skemfar Shadowsage with them not having anything to counter at this moment. We're going to go ahead and just take a nice little chunk out of their health, pass priority, and hold for another turn. Memory Deluge, they are now main phasing that card. It's the only option they had, which means they are desperately seeking an answer to what we have coming. Skemfar Shadowsage is big enough now to avoid anything that they could potentially put down on the board. There's the Tajuru Blightblade. We're going to go ahead and try and play out another Skemfar Shadowsage, drop another ding on their health, and draw out any removal or counterspells they might have so that we can play the Canopy Tactician on next turn and swing in bigly. This priority pause at least means that they've got some kind of instant available, and it's not the Memory Deluge. They don't have nearly the mana for that at this moment. Devious Cover-Up. They've elected to counterspell and work cards back into their hand. Very, very nice play on the part of the opponent. One more mana coming down, and I will Elvish Warmaster special ability and swing in with everything, forcing them to make a very painful choice. This current moment looks like they are tapping down pretty hard. Pending removal, we are going to have a good turn here in just a moment. And another Elvish Warmaster coming to the field. This will actually make the turn very interesting. We're going to try and draw out another counterspell or removal and drop that Canopy Tactician. That is perfect. Exactly what we were hoping for, that we would draw out that particular play. And now everything gets bigger. We're going to hold priority one more time. I don't believe that they have any board wipes. I believe they would have played them by now, but I could be seriously misjudging the situation. If we get to this next turn, it is not going to be a fun turn for them. 2 mana available. They're going to have removal for the Warmaster, or else this next play is going to come down hard and fast on them. And that could end up being game. What do? Do they swing in? They elect to pass. 2 mana open, slight delay. We're going to go ahead and activate the ability. Pump everybody to 1,000,000. And we're going to swing in for the beans. Holding back just enough to give us some nice defense against anything that they might elect to keep. This is not going to be an easy choice. There are big bodies that they have to answer for. 16 damage alone just in the tokens coming down the pike. 6 damage on the Herald, King of the Skemfar, which will require 2 blockers. Now, with their pests, those 2 blockers could be easily accounted for, but they're going for the kill in this instance. Interesting that they're going to sacrifice both of their big hitters to it, as opposed to utilizing the 1 damage that they have available here. Granted, everything has Death Touch, so anything that gets touched is going down. It could be that they're looking to put some removal down on the Tactician, but it's not going to matter because, again, Death Touch is the other added component. Divide by 0. Hey, friend, I appreciate the attempt, but you're losing everything. Probably going to pull another Mascot Exhibition if they had one in their sideboard. We shall see. They're going to need to rebuild this board as quickly as possible. But at this point, it's going to be hard to say what they could be sitting on. That is a devastating blow to the opponent, and we still have a huge board presence. Just the Tactician coming down on the next turn alone could be it. Oh, that is it, folks. That is a huge gain for the opponent, bringing them right back up to 21 health. We're going to go ahead and play Harald Unites the Elves, an epic pickup. And we are going to bring back one of our Warmasters. Work on starting to rebuild this board yet again. Another memory deluge for the opponent. Tyvar Kell was an early loss to the graveyard. Their hand is refilled. Shadow's Verdict gets rid of all of our 3-drops. Great 1-2 punch coming down the pike. That was an epic top deck, as we now have most of our important cards in the exile zone. We're going to have to hope for a big turn of events here. Mascot Exhibition, they are not letting up. Another Herald Unites the Elves. This is important. This is going to be the call we need to bring out the Skemfar Shadowsage. And we are going to cause them to lose life. We're going to go ahead and hold up the attack here, as we don't want to risk sacrificing these pieces just yet, but we are one sweeper away from a very bad day. They are going to have to Memory Deluge again to give them any chance at recovery. They may try to swing in, draw in some blocks, but without a card in our hand, that Teaching of the Archaics is as good as useless to them. Decks are starting to thin out there at 33. We're at 29. We have been drawing and self-milling pretty heavily to try and get ourselves to a point of recovery here, but this is not looking good for us at the moment. Introduction to Annihilation. They are going to go hard into the paint for something in the next turn. That is not the top deck we wanted. We're going to go ahead and activate the ability, make ourselves big, and go for the kill. No matter what's going to happen here, folks, they're going to use that Intro to Annihilation on the next turn, so we might as well take as much damage as we can. That's a big hit, guys. That is 16 damage. It's going to make contact. pending a board wipe, we may have victory here in just a turn available to us. Drawing that land is good because that takes it off our top deck. That, we shall see what happens here. We don't know what's in their foretell zone at this point. Another cram session. They are just loading up on these health cards. Not the ideal top deck, picking up yet another land from our hand. But they are now down to 2. They need to wipe this field on this turn, or it's going to be game over. There's another 2 health. They have just nearly infinite mana, it seems. That could be a poison the cup in the foretell zone. Siphon Insight, they are continuing to steal off our top. We'll see what they drew. Canopy Tactician, that is a devastating loss. And we have picked up yet another land. That is a good chump blocker for them to have, though. This game has been one heck of a roller coaster. They are looking to Siphon Insight again. I hope that they get one of our many lands, because so far they have taken every possible creature card we could be drawing. Herald unites the Elves! That is an amazing pickup for their Saw It Coming. Should have seen that coming. Alas, I didn't. And with them still having 27 cards, us being down to 22, and continuing to just chump block away the pain, we are in some trouble. There is yet another foretell. That is probably another Saw It Coming. Gonna have to... Yep, there it is. So we are now at a point where we are 2 turns away, pending removal. A bounce spell won't do it because I can land this. That is game. That was a long one, folks, but we are happy for that win. That was an intense match. That was a fun time. We will see you in the next one. Alright, and we're back with another game. Let's see what the opponent has in store for us here. Opponent goes first. This is a good hand. Plenty of turn 1 and turn 2 options. We're going to go ahead and keep. Opponent leads with blue. We're going to go ahead and lead with black and the Duskwielder. Keep him off the scent initially. This has been used in other deck types. Otherworldly Gaze. Low mana cost instance may be a worry. They could be doing some kind of recursion strategy. They opt to put a Frostbite down, Magma Channeler coming out. Alright, time to start putting on the pain. Elvish Warmaster to the field. Frostbite's a worrying sign, means they do have instant speed removal, but they are going to Expressive. Looks like they're trying to get their mana right. They found the mana. Magmatic Channeler gets a big boost. And the Fading Hope. That is... well, let's just say it, folks. That's annoying. We're going to go ahead and let this through. And that does not work so well for us. We're going to go ahead and regain one of those health. And we'll let them through for an additional 4. Hopefully they don't have any more bounce, or we pick up a green mana, because dropping the Elvish Warmaster for all of our green each turn is a pain. Well, that doesn't seem to matter anymore, folks, as they have found the removal. Alright, we're going to go ahead and Elderleaf Mentor and give us that additional blocker. Unless they Disruption. Well, folks, this one is not going our way. This is probably a mistake, but you know what? We're going to have a little fun along the way. Opponent's up to 4 mana. Good blend of both of their colors. And they've started the day-night cycle with their Suspicious Stowaway. Yet another Warmaster. We're going to go ahead and drop the Warmaster and hold. We will sacrifice the Duskwielder to a Channeler, pending another bouncer removal spell. I do believe if we get bounced or removed on this next turn with the Warmaster, this game will effectively be over. We'll chump block the Channeler, and they are looking to fix their hand. Another Otherworldly Gaze to the bin. And Expressive Iteration, they are looking for mana. What I wouldn't do for a green mana at this point. Looks like they're going to Expressive again. Really clawing for mana. That is not a bad pickup considering the tapped out nature of the opponent. We are going to go ahead and fix our mana right now while they don't have counterspells on the board. This will keep us in the game. If that survives to the next turn, the tap down for 3 will be a huge boon to our situation. Prismari Command coming down, 2 damage. Do they have a 1 mana removal spell? Thundering Rebuke to the Tactician, that is a clever way to finish it. Wow! Credit where it's due, folks. We will go ahead and chump and see if we draw that 1 mana that puts us right back on the board here. With the Skemfar Shadowsage sitting in reserve, if we can start building out a wider board, we will have a chance to turn this around. There's the green mana. Uh-oh, boys and girls. This is gonna make it worth our while. Now they will have to make a decision. If they have an additional removal, they will have to remove the Elvish Warmaster and the Blightblade just to keep themselves from losing key pieces of their attack strategy here. Another Stowaway hits the board. Another Channeler. That is not what we wanted to see, folks. We're going to go ahead and play the Herald Unites the Elves. They are tapped all the way out. That will bring the Canopy Tactician back to the field, which is actually what we are looking for that mana fixing. And it will give us a larger, more intimidating board presence. And with a Jaspera Sentinel coming down as well, we now have a very hard to deal with situation for the opponent. And a wide enough board to really recoup some of what we've lost over the course of their attacks. If they choose to attack the Magmatic Channeler, they will lose at least 1. I will probably take both with my tokens and utilize the Skemfar Shadowsage to get us across to the next step of this game phase. They could be sitting on any number of instants though, and they so far are taking their time to decide how they'd like to play this. They are electing to fix their hand. We are going to get some much needed +1/+1 counters on this board here in just a moment, depending on what they draw. They have 3 mana available, so any number of removal or bounce spells could be at the edge of their fingertips here. Elected to get rid of the Delver of Secrets. Not looking to go any wider. They don't like that Blightblade. That is a good move on their part. They've built out a treasure for themselves. There's the 1/1 counters on the Elves. And we're going to go ahead and give ourselves a little bit of a health boost as they have severely limited our options. Bring ourselves back up to 12 and continue to keep our options open. With everything important being a 4/4 now, it is more difficult to assign out damage in a way that is meaningful. And with this next turn, pumping everything with the Warmaster, this could be the opening we need to get in some severe damage on the opponent. This will probably have to be an all or nothing situation. No matter what, they will have to lose their Magmatic Channelers. Oh, folks, this is it. I think we are down to this. Is this enough? There's the first 4. Do I have enough? No, I don't, but the Magmatic Channeler goes down to 1. They are going to need something huge. That is one way to do it, but they are still going to face the repercussions of all of these counters hitting their creatures. This is gonna be a close one, folks. What is happening next? Where do they choose to assign that block? No matter what, they're gonna lose their channeler. And we pulled off the victory! That was exciting. I would put the microphone to my chest, but you don't want to hear the rustle of fabric as I try and find a heartbeat, but it is pounding out of my chest there. That came down to a couple of key top decks, and man, I know the shuffler, there are conspiracy theories around it, but sometimes it is your best friend. With that, folks, we're going to go ahead and head to the post game and see where things lie. All right, and we are back with the post-game wrap. Stats today brought to you by Untapped.gg. We are looking at a 67% win rate, 100% win rate on the play, 50% on the draw. We actually had a couple of really great matchups. 1-0 against Izzet, 1-0 against Amir, 1-0 against Azorius, 1-0 against Mono Blue. White-black was a problem. They did run us over. We could not get out of their way. And that Dragons match, that was wildly close. Overall, really fun deck, really fun synergies. It has the option to reward you just as much as it does to punish you, and when it rewards you big. If you're looking for a fun play and you can build this out, I definitely recommend it. Some of the key components are actually somewhat easy to access. For 1,000 gold, you can do the jump start or jump in, I believe it's called, playlists, and oftentimes if you get the Elves subtype as an option, it will reward you with either a Canopy Tactician, a Tyvar Kell, or an Elvish Warmaster, as it gives you the auto-generated deck pieces. So if you're looking to acquire some of these and your wild cards are in short supply, that is one way to get some of the key pieces of an Elf tribal deck. A lot of the rest of these, the Elderleaf Mentor is an uncommon, Tajuru Blightblade uncommon, Jaspera Sentinel uncommon. Not uncommon, I apologize. They're all commons, even easier. So if you have an abundance of your common or uncommon wild cards and haven't already collected these, it is worthwhile to do that. Folks, it has been a fun one. We look forward to seeing you in the next one. Again, if you're enjoying the content, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, help us grow our reach, and just have a little bit of fun along this journey. And we look forward to seeing you in the next one. This is Furion from the Florida Men Gaming, signing off.